Hello. So I was 12 years old, and my mom said we are going to New York to go shopping. So we get to New York, and it wasn't your usual shopping trip. We drive up to this huge building, and I later come to learn it's the Jacob Javits Center, and it's the New York International Gift Show. And so we're walking aisle after aisle, and the reason we were there was to buy bat mitzvah favors wholesale, of course. And so after each aisle, there's all this stuff, right? And I look at my mom, and I say, "You can shop for a living?" So I was 12, I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, and so I'm gonna tell you about how I created my dream job so I could shop for a living. So fast forward a couple of years, and I moved to New York, and I get an apartment in Chelsea on 10th Avenue, and I walk up and down 10th Avenue over the years and say, someday I'm gonna have a store. And that day came about 14 months ago. It's 2,000 square feet, it's on 10th Avenue and 19th, and it's a physical store. So imagine this. Imagine a space that has the point of view of a magazine, it changes every 4 to 8 weeks like a gallery, and it sells things like a store. Very easy and low maintenance, right? So if you're gonna have a brand that changes all the time, now we need to know what it's gonna be called. So we called in Stefan Sagmeister and Jessica Walsh, and we needed a brand that was engaging and versatile. So, of course, it should be called Story. But if you're gonna change all the time, how do you have an identity? So they're masters at that, and there was our identity. So Love Story was our first story. We've had Wellness Story, we've had Making Things Story, we've had Home for the Holidays Story. All in all, we've had 8 stories so far in 14 months. So today's talk is about this idea that I stumbled upon that I'm calling retail media. So we know media, that's the cover of InStyle's color issue last year, and this is the cover of our issue, which is our store. So what do I mean about retail and media? Well, you have editorial. So our version of editorial is the merchandise that we sell and we curate around a story or a subject matter, and then the events that we have to bring those to life. And then our version of publishing is we sell sponsorship. Brands pay us money to have their name in our store and be part of the conversation. What do I mean? I mean, when we had a color story, we brought in Benjamin Moore. And here's the thing, right? If people are buying billboards, TV ads, there's media everywhere, why are we not buying media in retail? And why can't it be cool and relevant and part of the story? Benjamin Moore knows a lot more about color than I do. So in the magazine, you have your letter from the editor, you have your merchandise that they tell you you need to go buy, you have ads. In our store, you have editorial ads on the wall. This is a company that sells t-shirts, and then adjacent to that, we use other products to help tell that story. And really, what this is a conversation about is content, commerce, and community. Not because they're the sexy hot buzzwords of the moment, but because I feel very strongly that both in media and in retail, these 3 core values and content elements need to exist. So just out of curiosity, how many people have heard of Quirky? Just by show of hands, I'm just curious. Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. So it's an amazing company. It's all about making invention accessible. You have an idea for that product you can never find, but you're never gonna make it, and then you submit your idea, and if enough people like it, then they make it. So when we sold our product in our store, we made sure that we did it in a way that was relevant to a physical space, but true to the brand. So we told the story of the inventor behind the product. And we took it out of its packaging, and you could touch it and play with it and see what it did. Content, this is something that's actually in our art story right now. It's a crossover case that goes on top of your iPhone, and there's 13 different colors and over 150 variations. So our designers created a table to show a bunch of different variations, and then you could make your own. And then to go full circle, Quirky comes with a video camera, captures people playing with it, and then brings that story back online. And then the third piece is community. And this is near and dear to my heart, and something I don't know that I would have seen as being as important as it has come to mean for me. So in our store, we did an invention day. And so instead of just putting a computer there for someone to submit their ideas, in the same way they could do at home, we had illustrators there. And so you tell them their idea, and they'd sketch it live. And then they'd scan it into the system, and it would meet all those other online submissions. And community for us takes many different forms. And this isn't about online versus offline, but they're both part of our lives. And we've spent so much time focusing on online community and online business models, but we still live in real life. So Amex is in beta with this community and platform for entrepreneurs to share ideas and whatnot. And so to that point, right, we shop online, we shop offline. Well, if tech companies get beta in a test period to work out the kinks, why can't we? So I had the lease, but I didn't have the trademark, and I didn't have inventory, but I couldn't let the real estate sit there, so we launched in beta. And we called ourselves a startup store, and we sold stuff from startups. And then what did we do? We took that same idea of Amex's online community and created an offline community with 50 different New York tech entrepreneurs. Other examples of community events that we've had in the store, this was our New York story, a hella bitter mixology class. One of my favorites, this is Nona. She's an Italian grandma from Staten Island who came and taught people how to make fresh pasta. And so at the end of the day, there's only so many people you can fit in a space. So what we do is we have different online partners who help us get the word out, but also continues the conversation in other forums, and also engages people who aren't in New York. So this was Skillshare. And the message went so far as to Texas, and to this email from Teresa, who asked, should she come to New York for 24 hours to a book event at a store because she liked Chip Connolly and she was following our store. And she did. And if someone ever told me that someone was going to get on a plane from Texas for 24 hours to go to a store, I wouldn't have believed them. But it's not about the store. It's about the conversation, and it's about the community. And our community looks very different. It depends on the day, and it depends on the story. This was another New York story, and our neighbors who came and set up a lemonade stand for 25-cent lemonade. Very profitable. None of us know this couple personally, but they felt very tied to our brand. And after they got married, they came to our store so they could have their picture taken. So this is stuff that I'm passionate about. And I got to thinking, right? Like when something works, why is it working, and what are people responding to? And if you think about retail and the metrics in physical retail, right? Sales per square foot. That's all you hear. That's all you've ever heard. But we have all these disruptive, innovative, amazing business models online. So why can't we do that offline? And why can't it be about experience per square foot? And who's to say we can't get revenue in dollars elsewhere? So a perfect example is we did a Making Things story with General Electric. So 25% of our store, this little moment you see here, is merchandise. And 75% was non-saleable experience. It was injection molding machines, laser cutters, CNC mill, very sexy stuff. And people could make things all day, every day. And so when you stop and you think about this model, and a lot of people say, well, who's your target market? So it's really, really narrow. It's men, and it's women, and it's children, and they're between 5 years old, and they're between 80 years old. And how can that exist? It's really because we're a dating service, and we're just using storytelling as the matchmaker between brands and consumers. How does this apply to CNC mills and 5-year-old children? Well, the internal name I call this event was Pimp Your Pumpkin. And we laser cut like Mr. Potato Head type figures so kids could make pumpkins. And then how do you get women excited about this stuff? Well, one word is handbags. So we had Rebecca Minkoff come and laser cut a handbag. We ran a social media contest, and someone came and won it. And then the guys, we had lots of stuff for the guys too. So that's kind of who comes in and out of our store on a daily basis. And we look at how we can tell stories, not just through community and these experiences, but with these different partners, how we can integrate content. So you're reading it and laughing because this is one of my favorites. Nerve was our sponsor for Love Story. They had just relaunched their dating site. And for those who can't see it, it's more or less, I hope the whole cougar thing is in vogue when I'm old enough to be one. And then we took their online dating profiles and put it in our boudoir so people could stumble upon them. And then, depending on the story, we find the right format to communicate it. So we have a partnership with a company called Perch, which projects on surfaces and makes it interactive like a website. We also have Oldschool Editorial, where this is our letter to the editor for our holiday issue. Our holiday issue was a gift guide that came to life in a store. So instead of going to 40 stores, you could go to one. And like a website, we had navigation in the form of lampshades. This was our men's study. We had subcategories for the mixologist. And that was our holiday store. And then this is our wellness story that we just ended not too long ago, and we brought in contributors to help us tell a story, because at the end of the day, we don't want it to just be our point of view, but people who bring value and experience to the table in other categories. So we have all this fun, pretty stuff and all these people, but really, how can you get a sense of what's happening, right? We look at stuff like this all day long. Who's clicking where, when, why? So in the store, we have different partnerships that help us on this side of the business as well. So this is from Prism Skylabs. We have cameras all over our store. And what it really ends up doing is it looks at the paths and how a customer moves within the store, and then it tracks it based on heat. So not only can I re-merchandise the store more or less instantly, but then what I can do is see who's going what way when. And even better, I know what's hot and what's not hot. And so I can tell that brand partner, you know what, we can A/B test something before you roll it out for a launch. So that's the analytics side, and it's also leveraging these tools for other purposes as well, and providing analytics for our partners. During Wellness Story, this is a product that's not even on the market, and the objective of this partner was research and development. So it's a product that's coming out in October, and they wanted to sample it and get feedback, and also see what attributes of the brand resonated with people. So this is the second part that I stumbled upon that I can honestly say I didn't anticipate happening, and it's probably the thing, along with community, that gets me most excited. So similar to online communities, everything that we're doing online, there's discovery platforms everywhere. We go on Etsy, we find great product, we see new things. We do that in store, having different makers come on site. Then there's Kickstarter, which we're all pretty familiar with. And what we did is we launched pitch nights, because what was happening is, just like a magazine, people were pitching product. So we had pitch night, people showed up to show their product, and this is my favorite one. So she walks in the store, she goes up to one of our sales associates. This is Beth Macri. She's an industrial structural engineer, and she had never made jewelry before, and she wanted us to see her product. So you're probably thinking, okay, nice necklace, Rachel, not so, what's so special? Well, it's hidden messages. So there are letters underneath here. So we all flipped, and we're like, we love it, you're now in every story. And then we got her on this small site called The View, and now we're incubating her, and she's our first designer in residence, so we're gonna help her launch her career, and she quit her day job. So in addition to kind of looking at community around products and selling things, it's also how can we support other businesses and continue to learn ourselves so that we're getting better as storytellers and communicators. And so we did a project with the City of New York and Mayor Bloomberg to find innovative fashion and technology retail companies. And then winners got a slot in the store and a year worth of business services and support. Other ways that we've done that is we worked online with Architizer, which is the largest community of architects online, and we had an open call. Design our windows for making things only using the materials and the technology that would be in the store. So Clay Shortall from Austin, Texas designed Shadow Puppet, and what happened is when you were in front of the store and you moved, it moved with you. And last but not least is our current story, and this is Art Story. And this is Kelly, who's a Pratt student. She's in the graduate program and will be out of school in 3 weeks. And what's exciting about this is she now has a living resume. None of those kids have jobs yet, and here's a portfolio. They did the entire thing. So it's kind of like, what do all these things have in common? Kids yoga and book readings and cashmere and pasta making. It's that they all have a story. And the story that I'm really excited about telling is this one of retail media, and is this one about content and community and commerce and editorial and experience and metrics. So there's probably been a couple times in this speech where you're thinking to yourself, how does she make money? Is she making money? So in our industry, and by industry I mean the retail part of our industry, it's on average 3 years. You might break even, you might be profitable, but that's where it is. So we were profitable in our first year. So what's our next story? Thank you. What's our next story? Well, you don't know what's on the cover of a magazine, so I hope you'll come visit us and find out. Thank you.